Kia has expanded its award-winning Sorento lineup in Australia with the introduction of a new hybrid variant that doesn't require plugging in. It's high in price and initially low in volume. So the question is, does the new Sorento HEV justify its place among existing petrol, diesel and plug-in hybrid options? Let's find out. The Sorento Hybrid, or HEV, lands in showrooms from July 2022, joining a Sorento range that is already subject to lengthy wait times after rampant Aussie demand and a swag of accolades including the 2020 Carsales Car of the Year. Kia says it will only import 20 Sorento HEVs per month initially, and just like the Sorento PHEV that launched locally in October 2021, the Sorento HEV is only available in high-spec GT-Line form. As such, base pricing is set at $66,750 for the front-wheel drive version, while the all-wheel drive hybrid driven here adds an additional $3,000, tipping it just below $70,000. That makes the regular series hybrid more than $10,000 cheaper than the equivalent plug-in hybrid Sorento, even though they look the same and they share a lot of the same equipment. Under the body, there's plenty of similarities as well, including a 1.6 litre turbo petrol 4-cylinder engine and a dual clutch automatic transmission. But where the hybrid really differentiates itself in practice is that it doesn't require plugging in. So there's no external port like the plug-in hybrid. It just recuperates its energy on the road without you having to do a thing. Fuel consumption is officially rated at 5.8 litres per 100 Ks for the all-wheel drive hybrid tested. That compares with 6.1 litres per 100 Ks for the equivalent Sorento GT-Line diesel, which is also $5,000 cheaper at the point of purchase. The cabin of the Sorento HEV presents just like GT-Line versions of the petrol and the diesel Sorento. And trust me, that's no bad thing. You've got a great open glass house to give you a nice view of the road, terrific incidental storage, and quality furnishings at all the contact points. It's a really family-friendly and sophisticated place to be. Quilted Napa leather, 14-way driver's seat adjustment with memory function, heated and ventilated seats, the GT line looks and feels premium. There's a good assortment of storage across the doors, lower centre fascia and centre console, plus some additional functional touches, including a handy passenger talk speaker system for the driver to communicate with rear occupants. Kia do a really good job with all their latest infotainment systems, and it means that you can jump in a car like the Sorento and really quickly come to grips with the layout. So the screen itself has a lot of really easy to navigate native menus. It's got a nice mix of LCD buttons, but also old school knobs and dials as well. So you're able to get through it and it works really well. Integration of Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is likewise seamless. The instrument cluster, it's digital, it looks quite fancy, but in practice you're able to navigate it as well with all the steering wheel mounted buttons. So really nice, really intuitive tech on board. The Sorento officially covers all our key infotainment requisites and is equally strong in safety terms as standard. At 4.8 metres long, the Sorento is quite a bit smaller in overall footprint than a lot of other 7-seat SUVs. But from the second row, it actually gives away very little. There's large second row door openings, great spatial proportions and comfortable seats as well. Everyone in the second row gets access to a USB port, there's rear air vents and also some really cool nifty features like the cup holders in the doors and these sunshades for little ones. The rear seat offers 2 ISOFIX attachment points and 3 top tether points. Additionally, there's a further 2 ISOFIX attachments in the third row. The boot area is the Sorento's biggest spatial compromise. It is very much an occasional 6th and 7th seater, but it will swallow full-size suitcases or prams alike. Batteries stowed underneath impose a minimal 8-litre penalty in official boot space. Stowing the rearmost seats is easy, while entry into the third row is facilitated by a one-touch slide and fold button. It's worth noting the Sorento's third row space is only partially covered by airbags, reinforcing its brief as an occasional 7-seater. Like all Sorento models, the HEV gets a full-size alloy spare wheel as standard. Okay, so hybrid is pretty well the motoring buzzword in Australia at the moment. There's a 12-month wait for cars like the excellent Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, and with fuel prices doing what they are, the trend isn't likely to stop anytime soon. The best thing about the Sorento HEV is that from the user's point of view, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to plug it in. It decides when it's on electric power, or in this case, petrol power. You simply put it into D for drive and away you go. On that, this car has a rotary dial like the regular Sorento range. I've had a couple of false starts, more than a couple of false starts driving it lately. I think you can't really beat just an ordinary stick to pull it into D, but that's a little quirk with this car, something that you do eventually get used to. Pulling away, probably hear there that the battery on this car does last a fair while, but it's a little bit low at the moment. So the petrol engine is intervening a little bit quicker than it ordinarily would. But as a general rule, the electric motor does a lot of the heavy lifting when you pull away from a standstill. And this car really does revel in the around town environment. A lot of it, surprisingly a lot, is actually electric propulsion, with the petrol engine just chiming in as it requires. Now, in terms of energy regeneration, it's all recuperated through the brakes, but also through the engine recharging the battery, and it's a fairly seamless process. Now, when the petrol engine does chime in, it's not really the most refined noise. It's a little bit of a sort of thrashy sounding engine, certainly not the most polished. So it takes away a little bit from this car's refinement, but there's obviously no diesel grumble at low speeds. And the way that the two interact, the petrol engine and the electric motor, it's quite a nice day-to-day synergy. The HEV lacks the punch and polish of other Sorento models on the open road, instead excelling in stop-start situations, both in terms of performance and efficiency. Now, not surprisingly, the hybrid system really revels in around town passage, because that's when it can really maximise use of the electric system. Otherwise, you've got a 1.6 litre engine that arguably is quite small for a big 7-seat SUV. So it needs to work hard, and it uses quite a bit of fuel by doing so. But when you combine the two, it's not a bad little synergy. Around town, I've consistently averaged about 7 litres per 100k, so just above the claim. I think on the most efficient run that I've done, which did include a little bit of highway passage, some of it downhill, I netted about 5.8 litres per 100k's on a 100-kilometre journey. So that matches the claim, and in day-to-day terms, it's quite efficient. In terms of ride and handling, the good news here is that the Sorento HEV shares all the same qualities of the Sorento range. It sits flat through corners, it's really stable and sure-footed on the open road, and it has a great outward view of what's happening in front and behind you. I think the real redeeming feature with the Sorento is that at 4.8 metres long, it does feel a little bit nippier and a little bit smaller than a regular 7-seat SUV. So for that reason, it's a lot more confidence inspiring. You can stick it in tight parking spaces, you can navigate through tight urban streets, but equally, it feels right at home on the open road as well. So if you're going away for a weekend trip, this car is right up to the task. The HEV maintains Kia's excellent 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, but is subject to shorter 10,000 kilometre servicing intervals than the equivalent diesel. Servicing is also about $400 pricier than the oiler over a 5-year term. And while we're comparing, the HEV's towing capacity is down by 350 kilos. The Kia Sorento HEV is indeed a welcome addition to the car maker's 7-seat SUV range. As we've seen, its fuel consumption is largely academic, so if you're a country driver clocking longer miles, it's probably better to save the $5,000 up front and go with the top spec diesel Sorento. But if you're an inner city dweller or on a green-friendly fleet, this actually makes a lot of sense. In time, it'd be great to see the HEV offered in more affordable grades and in larger volumes alike. But on first inspection, it certainly looks to continue the Sorento's winning ways.